Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I will be filming a 3 demo look on the Milani Most Loved Matte Eyeshadow Palette. I haven't really played around with Milani Cosmetics too much, so I thought it'd be a good idea to try out their eyeshadow palettes first, just because I've heard so many good things about them. This is an all matte eyeshadow palette. So in today's video, I will share my thoughts on the shade range, on the formula, and then of course at the end you'll see my 3 looks. So if you guys are interested in all of that, then just continue watching. Okay, so to get started, let's start off with some product info. This is the Most Loved Matte Eyeshadow Palette. It comes with 12 matte eyeshadows in here, along with a mirror. This palette is $20 US, and in New Zealand that is 40 New Zealand dollars. It is a little bit pricier in my opinion for like a drugstore brand if you're comparing it to palettes like Wet n Wild, but okay, Wet n Wild is a whole nother story. Like Colourpop, for example, a 12 pan palette from Colourpop is 16 US, this is 20, so it's a little bit more expensive. But I do feel like the packaging and everything about it feels a little bit more sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap at all. I do see why it's a little bit higher in price range for drugstore, but I mean, it's a cruelty-free drugstore brand, and you know, we can take what we can get here. So the way this palette is set up, it even says on the back, each row going down is kind of like its own quad. So this quad down here is called daytime, the one in the middle is called anytime, and the one on the end is called playtime. So you can use it in a quad, which I think is great. It's really easy for a beginner to really look at this palette and be like, okay, I'll just use this whole row down here and just experiment with that, so on and so forth. I do wish there was a matte black in here. I think that would have completed this palette. If you're having an all matte palette, I think it's great that they have a brow bone highlighting shade, and then you want something the complete opposite, which is a matte black. And I think that would have just bring the whole palette together. I would have actually liked a little bit more of like a dark brown shade as well, like a couple more. With some of the more lighter shades just on my skin tone, I personally could have done without them, but they are nice to like highlight, so I'm not gonna like write them off completely. But instead of those lighter shades, I would have liked a matte black or some medium tones. But nonetheless, overall, the shade range, the tones are really good. So now let's speak about the formula, because that's most important. I should have talked about that first. But the formula, it is great. I didn't have any troubles with blending it out. There's no fallout with this either. All 3 looks I did my base first, knowing that there wasn't going to be fallout with this. It's just a really easy formula to blend out. I didn't see any patchiness, and if I did, I don't think it's the shadows, I just think it's my skin. Today on this eye, I did see a little bit of patchiness, but on this eye I didn't, so it's not the shadow, it's definitely just my eyes, or my skin I should say. So yeah, no patchiness with anything. I think the tones of the colors are beautiful. They're very soft, very neutral, and great for everyday wear. I definitely see myself traveling with this palette, because typically when I travel, I know I'm wearing my makeup for a very long time. I don't wear metallics. If you go back to my Japan vlogs, you would just see me with a matte eye, and this is a palette that I definitely would take. I think the tones are just very soft, muted, neutral. That's like my vibe. If you are a beginner and you want cheap makeup that's cruelty free, I think this is a great thing on the market right now. I mean, the news about Wet n Wild, I personally don't know too much about like the Chinese law and how they are working their way around it. I don't know if I believe this statement. I want to hear Jay Kisser talk about it, because I really trust her opinion. There's just not many cruelty-free drugstore brands, so the fact that there's a palette like this of this quality at a drugstore price that you can go into the drugstore and like swatch and everything, it's amazing. You know, in New Zealand there was only NYX, Wet n Wild, and Milani that is drugstore and cruelty free, and now that Wet n Wild is out of the picture for now, I'm only left with NYX and Milani. So I'm just saying, it is really great that we have a high quality eyeshadow palette in this drugstore that is cruelty free, so I can appreciate that. I know they have a couple of other palettes like this in like this sizing quad. This says number 1, so maybe I should move on to number 2, and if you guys want to see a 3 demo look on that, then I'll be more than happy to purchase and try it out. Alright, so that was my quick little review on the Milani Most Loved Matte eyeshadow palette. I just want to quickly talk about my 3 looks before we jump into them. So first things first, I did not realize that there were names on the back. I just assumed that there wasn't names. In my 3 demo looks, I'm like the first shade on the first row or the third shade on the second row. I didn't realize there was names on the back, so I'm sorry about that. It does sound very annoying, like third shade, blah 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 blah. I feel like it's because I filmed the first look like a month ago, and there's so many releases came out, and then I filmed my second and third look yesterday and today, so there was like a bit of gap. Kind of forgot about some information about this palette, like there were actual names on the back. And also with the 3 looks, I know they are very simple, and in my head I feel like they're repetitive because of the palette I'm playing with. I am only using mattes. I am very kind of limited to the techniques that I can use, but I still like all 3 looks. They are very realistic looks. Like these are looks that I would wear. This 3 look video is probably the most realistic 3 look video that I've done. Like all 3 looks are just great for everyday wear. And obviously for look 1, even though I use this row here, you can do the same technique but do it with the second row or the first row, you know what I mean? So with that being said, I hope you guys will still enjoy the 3 looks and still find it helpful. So let's roll the clips. Getting started with the first look, we're going to start off with the shade Fancy Vanilla, and I'm going to use this shadow to set down my eye base, which is my concealer. Of course, this is optional. You don't have to set down your eye base if you don't want to. I personally just like to do this step. Now I'm going into the shade My Daily Latte, and I'm going to be using this as my transition shadow, but really when I wash it onto my lid space, you definitely can't see it. It kind of blends into my skin tone, but it does give a slight wash to the eyes, which is nice for like a daytime look. Now using the shade Toast of the Town, I'm going to apply this all over my lid space first and blend it up towards my crease, towards that light transition shadow we placed down earlier. This is just going to give the lid a bit of color, but it's very, very natural. It's not too intense, so it's very perfect for everyday wear. I'm also going to run the shadow onto my lower lash line as well, just to balance everything out. And lastly, taking the shade Chocolate is Life, I'm going to smudge this against my lash line, kind of doing a smoky tight line. And then I'm also going to bring this on to my lower lash line as well, but I'm just going to focus it at the outer third of the lower lash. I'm not going to bring it all the way in. And then I'm actually just going to use my Ardency in Modster eyeliner in the shade Coffee, and I'm going to use this to tightline my upper and bottom waterline. After applying some mascara, this is going to complete the first look. I hope you guys have been enjoying more of these natural looks that I've been trying to create on my channel. It's very subtle, very light, but it still enhances your eyes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this natural eye look. So to get started with the second look, I'm taking the middle shade on the second row. This is going to be my transition shadow, and I'm just going to use windshield wiping motions just to get a really good blend. Moving right down one shade below that on the third row right in the middle, I'm taking this shade and I'm going to put it in my outer third. I'm going to really focus the color there just because I want the outer third to have the most pigment, the most darkness, and the inner corner to have the lightness. So you don't want to drag it in to your inner crease, I'm just focusing it at the outer corner. I'm also going to bring this shadow onto my lower lash line as well, right from the outer corner to the inner corner. And at the outer corner, you're just making sure you're connecting the shadows, that way the whole look can complete as one. And now I'm going down one more shade. I'm going into the last row in the middle. I'm taking this shadow and I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing by putting this in my outer third. Like I mentioned before, I just want the most darkness at the outer corner and the lightness in the inner corner. So this is really going to help build that darkness up. I'm also going to bring this onto my lower lash line as well, but just at the outer third, connecting it at the edge. Now I'm taking the middle shade on the first row. This is going to be the light shadow that we are going to use to contrast against the dark. You can also take this shade into your inner corner and on your brow bone to highlight them as well. Alright guys, so this is the second look completed. For my lashes, I am wearing the iconic lights from House of Lashes. And for my lip pairing, I'm wearing the Colourpop Luxe lipstick in the shade Layover. Getting started with the final look, I'm taking the first shade on the second row, and this is going to be my transition shadow. You can barely see the shade against my skin tone just because it is literally the same shade as me, or maybe like a little bit darker, but there's not much of a difference between this shade and my actual skin tone. But I did use it on my other eye, so I need to match everything up, so I'm going to use it regardless. Then I will be taking the first shade on the third row, and this is going right on my lid space. I'm going to start off with a little, build that product up on my lid space, and then slowly bring that up towards my crease area. Because this is a smoky eye, we want the most darkness on the lid first, and we want the lighter shades to fade out towards the brow bone. And wherever your brush touches first, that's where the most pigment is going to go on. So that's why I'm not going to take it straight into my crease, even if this is going to be like technically our transition shadow. I'll also be running this shade on to my lower lash line as well, right from the outer corner to inner corner, and just making sure at the outer corner we're connecting all the shadows together. Now taking the third shade on the third row, I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing, the same placement pretty much. It's just that this shadow is warmer, and I do want to add a little bit of warmth into this eye look. I don't want to keep it too neutral, although I love it. I just got to add a little bit of warmth, and this shadow is going to do that for us. Now I'm taking the first shade on the last row. I'm taking a smaller brush, but I will be doing initially the same thing. I'm just going to pack that right on my lid space first, and then slowly blend that up towards my crease. But because this is a darker shade, we want this closer to our lash line. And doing the same, I'm taking that right on to my lower lash line, but I'm really going to press this up against my waterline, all the way from the outer corner to inner corner. Alright guys, so this is the final look completed. For my lashes, I am wearing the boudoir lights from House of Lashes, and for my lip pairing, I decided to go with the Dear Dahlia Lip Paradise lipstick in the shade Kate. I really liked how this smoky eye turned out. It was very easy, very quick, but it still looks super glam. So I hope you guys enjoyed this final look as well. Alright guys, so this completes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below letting me know your thoughts, which look was your favorite. Have you guys tried this palette out? Let me know which palette you want me to do next. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!